The old gray donkey, Eeyore, stood by himself in a thistly corner of the forest, his front feet well apart, his head on one side, and thought about things. Sometimes he thought sadly to himself, why? And sometimes he thought, wherefore? And sometimes he thought, inasmuch as which? And sometimes he didn't quite know what he was thinking about. So when Winnie the Pooh came stumping along, Eeyore was very glad to be able to stop thinking for a little in order to say, how do you do? In a gloomy manner to him. And how are you? Said Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore shook his head from side to side. Not very how. I don't seem to have felt at all how for a long time. Dear, dear, said Pooh. I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look at you. So Eeyore stood there, gazing sadly at the ground, and Winnie the Pooh walked all around him at once. Why, what's happened to your tail? He said in surprise. What has happened to it? Said Eeyore. It isn't there. Are you sure? Well, either a tail is there or it isn't there. You can't make a mistake about it, and yours isn't there. Then what is? Nothing. Let's have a look, said Eeyore, and he turned slowly round to the place where his tail had been a little while ago, and then finding that he couldn't catch it up, he turned around the other way until he came back to where he was at first, then put his head down and looked between his front legs. At last he said with a long, sad sigh, I believe you're right. Of course I'm right, said Pooh. That accounts for a great deal, Eeyore gloomily said. It explains everything. No wonder. You must have left it somewhere, said Winnie the Pooh. Somebody must have taken it, said Eeyore. How like 'em, he added after a long silence. Pooh felt that he ought to be something helpful about it, but he didn't quite know what, so instead he decided to do something helpful instead. Eeyore, he said solemnly, I, Winnie the Pooh, will find your tail for you. Thank you, Pooh, answered Eeyore. You're a real friend, said he. Not like some. So Winnie the Pooh went off to find Eeyore's tail. It was a fine spring morning in the forest as he started out. Little soft clouds played happily in a blue sky, skipping from time to time in front of the sun as if they had come to put it out, then sliding away suddenly so that the next might have his turn. Through them, between the sun shone bravely, and a copse which had worn its furs in all the year round seemed old and dowdy, which now beside the green lace which the beeches had put on so prettily. Through copse and spinney marched Bear, down open slopes of gorse and heather, over rocky beds of streams, up steep banks of sandstone, and into the heather again. And so at last, tired and hungry, to the 100-acre wood, for it was in the 100-acre wood that Owl lived. And if anything knows anything about anything, said Bear to himself, it's Owl, who knows something about something. Or my name's not Winnie the Pooh, which it is, he added. So there you are. Owl lived at the Chestnuts, an old-world residence of great charm, which was grander than anybody else's, or seemed to so bear, because it had both a knocker and a bell pull. Underneath the knocker there was a notice which said, Please ring if renter is required. Under the bell pull there was a notice which said, Please look if renter is not required. The notice had been written by Christopher Robin, who was the only one in the forest who could spell. For Owl, wise though he was in many ways, able to read and write and spell his own name, Owl, yet somehow went all to pieces over delicate words like measles and buttered toast. Winnie the Pooh read the two notices very carefully, first from left to right, then afterwards, in case he had missed some, from right to left. Then to make quite sure, he knocked and pulled the bell knocker, and then he pulled and knocked the bell pull. Then he called out in a very loud voice, "Owl, I require an answer. It's Bear speaking." And the door opened, and Owl looked out. "Hello, Pooh. How's things?" he said. "Terrible and sad," said Pooh, "because Eeyore, who was a friend of mine, has lost his tail and is moping about it. So could you very kindly tell me how to find it for him?" "Well," said Owl, "the customary procedure in such cases as follows." "What does crustumony precede cake mean?" said Pooh. "For I am a bear of very little brains, and long words bother me." "It means the things to do." "As long as it means that, I don't mind," said Pooh humbly. "The first thing to do is as follows. First, issue a reward, then—" "Just a moment," said Pooh, holding up his paw. "What do we do to this? What were you saying? You sneezed just as you were going to tell me." "I didn't sneeze," said Owl. "Yes, you did, Owl." "Excuse me, Pooh, I didn't. You can't sneeze without knowing it." "Well, you can't know it without something having been sneezed." "What I said was, first issue a reward." "You're doing it again," said Pooh sadly. "A reward," said Owl sharply. "We write a notice to say that we will give a large something to anybody who finds Eeyore's tail." I see," said Pooh, nodding his head. "Talking about large somethings," he went on dreamily, "I generally have a small something about now. About this time in the morning," he looked wistfully into the cupboard in the corner of Owl's parlor, "just a mouthful of condensed milk or whatnot, with perhaps a lick of honey." "Well then," said Owl, "we write out this notice and we put it up all over the forest." "A lick of honey," murmured Bear to himself, or not, as the case may be." He gave a deep sigh and tried very hard to listen to what Owl was saying. But Owl went on, using longer and longer words, until at last he came back to where he started, and he explained that the person to write out the notice was Christopher Robin. "It was he who wrote out the ones on my front door for me. Did you see them, Pooh?" For some time now, Pooh had been saying yes and no in turn, with his eyes shut to all that Owl was saying, and having said yes last time, he said no, not at all now, without really thinking about what Owl was talking about. "Didn't you see them?" said Owl, a little surprised. "Come and look at them now." So they went outside, and Pooh looked at the knocker and the notice below it, and he looked at the bell rope and the notice below it. Then the more he looked at the bell rope, the more he felt like he had seen something like it, somewhere else sometime before. "Handsome bell rope, isn't it?" said Owl. Pooh nodded. "It reminds me of something," he said, "but I can't think what." "Where did you get it?" "I came across it in the forest. It was just hanging over a bush, and so I thought at first somebody lived there. So I rang it, and nothing happened. Then I rang it again very loudly, and it came off in my hand, and nobody seemed to want it. I took it home, and—" "Owl," said Pooh solemnly, "you made a mistake. Somebody did want it." "Who?" "Eeyore. My dear friend Eeyore. He was fond of it." "Fond of it?" "Attached to it," said Winnie the Pooh. So with those words, Owl unhooked it and gave it to Pooh, and Pooh carried it back to Eeyore. And when Christopher Robin had nailed it in its right place again, Eeyore frisked about in the forest, waving his tail so happily that Winnie the Pooh came over all funny and had to hurry back home for a little snack of something to sustain him. And wiping his mouth half an hour afterwards, he sang to himself proudly, "Who found the tail?" "I," said Pooh. "At 1:45, it was only 11:45 really, I found the tail." The end. Red bird looking at me. Red bird, what do you see? I see a yellow duck looking at me. Yellow duck, what do you see? I see a blue horse looking at me. Blue horse, what do you see? I see a green frog looking at me. Green frog, what do you see? I see a purple cat looking at me. Purple cat, what do you see? I see a white dog looking at me. White dog, what do you see? I see a black sheep looking at me. Black sheep, what do you see? I see a goldfish looking at me. Goldfish, what do you see? I see a teacher looking at me. Teacher, what do you see? I see children looking at me. Children, what do you see? We see a brown bear, a red bird, a yellow duck, a blue horse, a green frog, a purple cat, a white dog, a black sheep, a goldfish, and a teacher looking at us. That's what we see. The end.
Four.
A long way out in the deep blue sea, there lived a fish, not just an ordinary fish, but the most beautiful fish in the entire ocean. His scales were every shade of blue, green, and purple, with sparkling silver scales among them. The other fish were amazed at his beauty. They called him the rainbow fish. "Come on, rainbow fish," they would call. "Come out and play with us." But the rainbow fish would just glide past, proud and silent, letting his scales shimmer. One day, a little blue fish followed after him. "Rainbow fish," he called, "wait for me! Please give me one of your shiny scales. They're so wonderful. You have so many." "You want me to give you some of my special scales? Who do you think you are?" cried the rainbow fish. "Get away from me!" Shocked, the little blue fish swam away. He was so upset, and he told all his friends what had happened. From then on, no one would have anything to do with the rainbow fish. They turned away as he swam by. What good were dazzling, shimmering scales with no one to admire them? Now he was the loneliest fish in the entire ocean. One day he poured out all his troubles to the starfish. "I really am beautiful. Why doesn't anybody like me?" "I can't answer that for you," said the starfish. "But maybe if you go beyond the coral reef to a deep cave, you will find the wise octopus. Maybe she can help you." The rainbow fish found the cave. It was very dark inside, and suddenly two eyes caught him in their glare, and the octopus emerged from the darkness. "I have been waiting for you," the octopus said with a deep voice. "The waves have told me your story. This is my advice. Give a glittering scale to each of the other fish. You will no longer be the most beautiful fish in the sea, but you will discover how to be happy." I can't," the rainbow fish started to say, but the octopus had already disappeared into a dark cloud of ink. "Give away my scales? My beautiful shining scales? Never! How could I be happy without them?" Suddenly he felt the light touch of a fin. The little blue fish was back. "Rainbow fish, please don't be angry. I just want one little scale." The rainbow fish wavered. Only one very, very small shimmery scale, he thought. Well, maybe I wouldn't miss just one. Carefully, the rainbow fish pulled out the smallest scale and gave it to the little fish. Thank you very much," the little blue fish bubbled playfully as he tucked the shiny scale among his blue ones. A rather peculiar feeling came over the rainbow fish. For a long time, he watched the little blue fish swim back and forth with his new scale glistening in the water. The little blue fish whizzed through the ocean with his scale shining, and it didn't take long before the rainbow fish was surrounded by other fish. Everyone wanted a glittering scale. The more he gave away, the more delighted he became. When the water around him was filled with glimmering scales, he finally felt at home with the other fish. Finally, the rainbow fish only had one shining scale. His most prized possession had been given away, yet he was very happy. "Come on, Rainbow Fish," they called. "Come and play with us." "Here I come," the Rainbow Fish, and happily as he swam off to join his friends. The end.
It is cold. See the snow. See the snow come down. Little Bear said, "Mother Bear, I am cold." See the snow. I want something to put on. So Mother Bear made something for Little Bear. See Little Bear, she said, "I have something for my Little Bear. Here it is. Put it on your head." "Oh," said Little Bear, "it is a hat. Hooray, now I will not be cold." Little Bear went out to play. Here is Little Bear. "Oh," said Mother Bear, "do you want something?" "I am cold," said Little Bear. "I want something to put on." So Mother Bear made something for Little Bear. See Little Bear, she said, "I have something for my Little Bear. Put it on." "Oh," said Little Bear, "it is a coat. Hooray, now I will not be cold." Little Bear went out to play. Here is Little Bear again. "Oh," said Mother Bear, "do you want something?" "I am cold," said Little Bear. "I want something to put on." So Mother Bear made something again for Little Bear. See Little Bear, she said, "Here is something for my Little Bear. Now you cannot be cold. Put it on." "Oh," said Little Bear, "snow pants. Hooray, now I will not be cold." Little Bear went out to play. Here is Little Bear again. "Oh," said Mother Bear, "what can you want now?" "I am cold," said Little Bear. "I want something to put on." "My Little Bear," said Mother Bear, "you have a hat, you have a coat, you have snow pants. Do you want a fur coat too?" "Yes," said Little Bear, "I want a fur coat too." Mother Bear took the hat, the coat, and the snow pants off. "See," said Mother Bear, "there is the fur coat." "Hooray," said Little Bear. "Here is my fur coat. Now I will not be cold." And he was not cold. What do you think of that?
Go.
A lonely white duck strolled right on by, stopped for a moment, and waved her wing high. She asked the green frog, "What is the matter?" For this little frog could not have looked sadder. The hungry, grumpy frog looked down at the duck, then turned his nose high and started to talk. "Oh, duck," said the frog, "can't you see? I'm as hungry and as grumpy as a frog can be." With that, the frog turned and jumped in the mud. He was hungry, he was tired, so he plopped down with a thud. On paddled the duck, quite taken aback, for this grumpy frog really needed a snack. The hungry, grumpy frog sat on a log, his belly still flat, his mind in a fog. A fish with orange scales swam underneath. His huge grinning smile showed all his white teeth. He asked the green frog, "What is your deal?" For the frog had a pout he just couldn't conceal. The hungry, grumpy frog gave the fish a cold eye, gazed down at the blue water, and let out a sigh. "Oh, fish," said the frog, "can't you see? I'm as hungry and as grumpy as a frog can be." With that, the frog turned and jumped in the mud. He was hungry, he was tired, so he plopped down with a thud. Onward swam the fish, his smile now a frown. He thought, what a grumpy frog. What a way to bring a fish down. The hungry, grumpy frog sat on a log, his belly still flat, his mind still in a fog. A black bird flew down next to the log, chirped a few words, and then sang out a song. "Oh, little frog, how upset you seem. If only you knew we're all on a team. I can find worms near that log where you sit, while the duck can find bugs for you and the fish." A hungry, grumpy frog sat on a log, his belly quite flat, his mind in a fog. "Being hungry is awful, my friend. I agree. Come, let me show you all the tasty things we can eat." "Thanks, bird," said the frog, who hopped right to work, doing along with his friends, duck, fish, and bird. If only he'd known how fun it could be, accepting some help from his new family. Bird did just as she said she would, and found those worms in the soil where she stood. The worms wiggled around, tucked in her beak, while the little frog's tongue circled cheek to cheek. Fish searched down deep in the water below. Moon came to the surface, his face all aglow. Seeing the treats that fish brought to share, the frog couldn't help but smile and stare. Duck paddled back, and she too helped the green frog. Duck now realized Frog's mood wasn't his fault. It's hard to be kind without food in your tummy. Eat up, little frog, then you won't feel so crummy. The green frog wasn't so hungry after the help from his friends. His belly was round, the day at an end. He felt so warm and happy inside, and to everyone the frog replied, "Thank you for helping when I was not very nice. Glad that I listened and took your advice. Now I know to be kind, a team player, and such, and with each other's help, we've had a very nice lunch." The end.
Your nose, oh whoa, 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 your nose. It's got a magic I can't ignore. What can I say? I just adore. Though I admire your angel eyes, there's something else I idolize. Your nose, oh whoa, 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 your nose. It's got a magic I can't ignore. What can I say? I just adore. Your nose, yes, yes, indeed, your nose. Oh, it's the sweetest little thing. Oh, can't you see? No noses like your nose to me. Boop. Well, everyone can find a way to happiness, I suppose. When I am sad, I stop and gaze and admire your woes. I love your nose, oh whoa, 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 your nose. You can tell everybody I told you so. It's the greatest little nose I know. Yes, everyone can find a way to happiness, so it goes. I'm happy when I see your face, and it's amazing, no woe woes. Row, row, rows. Chew! Bless you and your nose. Oh, whoa, 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 your nose. It's the cutest little thing, and heaven knows, no one is like your nose to me. One more time, your nose. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Your nose. Such an excellent nose. Boop.
Every morning, Skippy John Jones woke up with the birds. And this did not please his mother at all. "Get yourself down right now, Mr. Kitten Britches," ordered Mama Junebug Jones. "No self-respecting cat ever slept with a flock of birds," she scolded, "or ate worms, or flew, or did his laundry in Mrs. Doohiggy's bird bath." The lecture went on and on as usual. "You've got to do some serious thinking before you leave this room, Mr. Fuzzy Pants," said his mother, "about what it means to be a cat, not a bird, not a mouse or a grouse, not a moose or a goose, not a rat or a bat. You will need to think about what it means to be a Siamese cat. And stay out of your closet," she added, closing the bedroom door. But once he was alone, Skippy John Jones began to bounce and bounce and bounce on his big boy bed. "Oh, Skippy John, I'm Skippy John Jones, and I bounce on my bed. Once or 6 times, I land on my head." On his way down to earth from a gigantic big bounce, Skippy John Jones shot past his bedroom mirror. "Ole guacamole!" exclaimed Skippy John Jones. "What was that?" So he went up again, and it appeared. Then, using his very best Spanish accent, he said, "My ears are too big for my head. My head is too big for my body. I am not a Siamese cat. I am a Chihuahua." Back on land, Skippy John Jones climbed into his toy box and rifled through some of his old junk. After he put on his mask and sword and climbed into his mouse, Skippy John Jones began to sing in a moi soft voice. "My name is Skippito Frisco, and I fear not a single bandito. My manners are mellow, I'm sweet like the jello. I get the job done, yes, indeedo." Back in the kitchen, Jujubee, Jezebel, and Jilly Boo Jones were helping Mama Junebug make lunch. "Can Skippy John Jones come out of his room now?" asked Jujubee. "No," answered answered Mama Junebug Jones. Mr. Fluffernutter is still thinking. In fact, Skippy John Jones wasn't thinking about being a Siamese cat at all. With a walk into his closet, his thoughts took him down to a lonesome dirt road far, far away in old Mexico. Not long into his journey, the mysterious bandito, a band of chihuahuas, appeared out of the dust. "Ay, caramba, who goes there?" asked Skippy John Jones. "We go by the name of the Los Chimichangos," growled Don Diego, the biggest of the small ones. "Who are you?" "I am El Skipito, the great sword fighter," said Skippy John Jones. Then the small ones spoke up. "Why the mosquito, dude?" asked Pico Tito. "I go incognito," said Skipito. "Do you like rice and beans?" asked Pinito. "See, I love mice and beans," asked Skipito. "He might be the dog of our dreams," whispered Rosalita. "Perhaps," said Tia Mia, "if he knows the secret password." Leaning forward, Don Diego El Skipito half sneezed and half spoke the secret password into the Chihuahua's very large ear. "Achoo! Pichu!" "Bless you," said Don Diego. "Gracias," said Skipito. "Then it is true," decreed Don Diego. "Yip, yippito! It's the end of the Alfredo Bazito. Skipito is here, and we have nothing to fear. Adios to the bad Bumblito." Then all of the chimichangos went crazy loco. First they had a fiesta. Then they took a siesta. But after waking up, the chimichangos got down to serious business. Using his paws, Don Diego drew a picture in the sand of the great Bumbito for Skipito to see. A hush grew over the chimichangos so great that no one could hear a whisker drop. "Alfredo Bozito," whispered the crowd. "El Pimpo Bambito Bandito." "Sí," said Poquito Tito, "the bando steals our frijoles." "Not your beans!" cried Skipito, outraged. "Sí," Poquito continued. "Red beans, black beans, Boston bacon blue, cocoa, coffee, kidney beans, pinto, and jelly too." "And now he comes for us," Poquito added. "Por qué?" asked Skipito. "Because we are full of the beans too." Then Don Diego stood tall and his most somber voice declared, "Yo quiero frijoles." "Huh?" "The dude just wants his beans back," said Poquito Tito. "And you are the dog for the job." "Me?" asked Skipito. Then all the chimichangos turned towards Skipito, the great sword fighter. But poor Skipito had no time for a plan, because in the blink of an eye, a gigantic shadow darkened the landscape. "Vámonos!" The chimichangas scattered in all different directions. "Vámonos, Skipito, or it is you the bandito will eato!" they cried. Skipito stood his ground, but his legs shimmied and shook like jello. His teeth clattered like the castanets. Then in a muy soft voice, he said, "My name is Skipito Frisco. I fear not a single bandito." But then Alfredo Bazito flew straight for Skipito until the bean-eating bandito hovered only inches away from the great sword fighter's face. "Holy frijoles!" cried Skipito as he thrust his sword into the air. Pop! Went the bandito, landing on Skipito's sword, and quicker than one could say Chihuahua's cheese and crackers. Every kind of bean came spilling out of Alfredo Bazito, the bumblebee bandito. Then all the doggies burst into song. "Yip, yippee, yippito! Our hero is El Skipito. He's the dog of our dreams who delivered the beans, and now we can make our burritos." But back at home, there was such a ruckus coming from Skippy John Jones' room that Mama Junebug Jones and the girls just had to find out what was going on. They raced down the hall to the kitty boy's room. "Benjito, Crashito, Papito, Skipito!" Just in time to see Skippy John Jones' closet exploding. Then out flew Candy, beanbag doggies, and the kitty boy with his birthday piñata on his head. "Skippy John Jones!" everybody cried. Holy muchachas, he said in a muy soft voice. Mama Junebug lifted up Skippy John Jones and covered his head in furry, purry kisses. What am I going to do with you, Mr. Cocoa Pugs? She added. That night he was supposed to be going to sleep, and Skippy John Jones began to bounce and bounce on his big boy bed. Oh, I'm Skippy John Jones with a mind of my own. I'll bounce on my bed for hours. I know I'm a cat, but forget about that. Say goodnight, Skippy John Jones called his mamas. Buenas noches, mi amigos, said Skippy John Jones.
A mother bird sat on her egg. The egg jumped. Oh, said the mother bird, my baby will be here. He will want to eat. I must get something for my baby bird to eat, she said. I will be back. So away she went. The egg jumped. It jumped and jumped and jumped and jumped. Out came the baby bird. Where is my mother? He said. He looked for her. He looked up. He did not see her. He looked down. He did not see her. I will go and look for her, she said. So away he went. Down out of the tree he went. Down, 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 down. It was a long way down. The baby bird could not fly. He could not fly, but he could walk. Now I will go and find my mother, he said. He did not know what his mother looked like. He went right by her. He did not see her. He came to a kitten. Are you my mother? He said to the kitten. The kitten just looked and looked. It did not say a thing. The kitten was not his mother, so he went on. Then he came to a hen. Are you my mother? He said to the hen. No, said the hen. The kitten was not his mother. The hen was not his mother. So the baby bird went on. I have to find my mother, he said. But where? Where is she? Where could she be? Then he came to a dog. Are you my mother? He said to the dog. I am not your mother. I am a dog, said the dog. The kitten was not his mother. The hen was not his mother. The dog was not his mother. So the baby bird went on. Now he came to a cow. Are you my mother? He said to the cow. How can I be your mother? Said the cow. I am a cow. I did have a mother, said the baby bird. I know I did. I have to find her. I will. Now the baby bird did not walk. He ran. Then he saw a car. Could that old thing be my mother? No, it could not. The baby bird did not stop. He ran on and on. Now he looked way down. He saw a boat. There she is, said the baby bird. He called to the boat, but the boat did not stop. The boat went on. He looked way up. He saw a big plane. Here I am, mother, he called out. But the plane did not stop. The plane went on. Just then the baby bird saw a big thing. This must be his mother. There she is, he said. There is my mother. He ran right up to her. Mother, mother, here I am. Mother, he said to the big thing. But the big thing just said, snort. Oh, you are not my mother, said the baby bird. You are a snort. I have to get out of here. But the baby bird could not get away. The snort went up. It went way up and up went the baby bird. But now where was the snort going? Oh, what is the snort going to do to me? Get me out of here. Just then the snort came to a stop. Where am I? Said the baby bird. I want to go home. I want my mother. Then something happened. The snort put that baby bird back in the tree. The baby bird was home. Just then the mother bird came back to the tree. Do you know who I am? She said to her baby. Yes, I know who you are, said the baby bird. You are not a kitten. You are not a hen. You are not a dog. You are not a cow. You are not a boat or a plane or a snort. You are a bird, and you are my mother. The end.
In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. On Sunday morning, the warm sun came up, and pop out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry little caterpillar. He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one apple, but he was still hungry. On Tuesday, he ate through 2 pears, but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through 3 plums, but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through 4 strawberries, but he was still hungry. On Friday, he ate through 5 oranges, but he was still hungry. On Saturday, he ate through 1 piece of chocolate cake, 1 ice cream cone, 1 pickle, 1 slice of Swiss cheese, 1 slice of salami, 1 lollipop, 1 piece of cherry pie, 1 sausage, 1 cupcake, and 1 slice of watermelon.
Where I could put the
That night, he had a stomachache. The next day was Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through a nice green leaf, and after that, he felt much better. Now he wasn't hungry anymore. He wasn't little anymore. He was a big, fat caterpillar. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks, and then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and he was a beautiful butterfly.
The end.